It started a few weeks ago. Every morning when I woke up, I saw bales of hay standing a few hundred yards away from me, moving slowly toward my secluded farm, 100 miles from the nearest village. I didn't pay much attention to it, thinking it was the work of local pranksters. After a few days, the bales came almost right up against a fence of my farm. I had had enough of these pranks and decided to put them back in place. It took me several hours, and I was very tired of carrying them. The next morning I was awakened by a terrible smell. I went to the stables and was stunned. All my horses had been decapitated. And I couldn't find a single head on the whole farm. I spent the whole day cleaning up and burying the remains. It was only in the evening that I noticed that the hay bales were back in their places, right outside my house. I was too scared. Realizing that the horses and the bales were somehow connected, I decided not to touch the hay again. That evening I sat on the porch with the coffee pot by my side. I sat for hours, glancing toward the field to see who was touching my hay. Finally, I started pecking my nose and fell asleep. I was awakened by the noise and crackling of the trees in the woods behind the field. I got up, intending to catch the bastard. But the sound alerted me. An ordinary man could not have bent the trees and made a noise that would have been heard from half a mile away, though the night was quiet. Finally, in the light of the moon, I saw a silhouette crawling out of the woods. He looked 2.5 yards tall, standing on all fours and moving on 4 long, skinny limbs. I froze, not daring to move. My whole body was stunned, and an unpleasant chill ran down my skin. The creature grabbed one of the bales and carried it toward my fence, as if it hadn't noticed me. I decided to run away and lock myself in the house, but I couldn't move. The creature came to the fence, put the bale next to it, and went to get the next one. When it picked up the bale, it got up on 2 legs and walked, hunched over a bit. His silhouette looked simply nightmarish. Skinny limbs, a round belly that seemed puffed up, a head that looked like a human head, but you couldn't see the details. It must have seen me, but it pretended not to be interested in me. And thank God it did. I remembered how it had decapitated the horses. Their heads had just been torn off their bodies. The guest turned his head toward the farm and stared at me for a few seconds. Then he disappeared silently into the darkness of the forest. I sat looking at the woods for another hour, and then I went inside, but I couldn't sleep. When the sun came up, I dared to go outside and look. The bales were spread out so that they formed an almost perfect semicircle near my farmhouse. It was as if the creature had marked its boundary. I fell asleep that night, but I had nightmares and never got a good night's sleep. The next morning, the bales were where he had left them. I tried to make sense of the situation. The creature had marked its boundary. I violated it and moved the hay, and it decapitated my horses with a warning. It knew very well that I would understand that, and it knew that it would scare me. I decided that I wouldn't go over to its side, and everything would be quiet. And so it was for a few weeks. One morning I decided that I needed to buy new horses. I had already fueled up my truck to drive to the nearest village when I noticed pillars of dust on the road. It was a car coming. I went outside to meet my guests. The car had already begun to approach when suddenly a monster came running out of the woods. It galloped toward the car on 4 limbs. I started to wave to the driver to see it and turn back, but he didn't understand me. The car was about 100 yards from the farmhouse when the creature caught up with it. The monster jumped onto the roof and smashed the windows. The car was thrown to the side, and it stalled. The monster pulled the driver up with his long arms, lifted him above him, and twisted him like a wet rag. Blood spurted out, and the man fell silent. It looked at me, and I saw its face, which looked like the face of a chubby child, but with black empty eyes. I stood there in shock, not daring to move. It dropped the body, turned, and walked silently away into the woods. As I entered the house, I realized the hopelessness of my situation. The monster had decided to expand its territory and cut me off from the only road I could take to leave the farm. It was impossible to go around his territory because on the other side were impassable swamps. I couldn't get away quickly in my car because he would catch up with me anyway. The only way to escape was by helicopter, but I got tired of calling 911. At first they didn't believe me. Then I started telling them I was trapped and bleeding, and they said they could send a car to me. And it doesn't make sense. Of course, when they lose a car, they might send a helicopter, and maybe they'll send some more cars. In any case, I don't want to be rescued in exchange for the deaths of a few innocent people. I record this message in the hope that someone has a personal helicopter and will believe me and save me. My power generator is running low on fuel. That's enough for about a week, then I'll go offline.